Hello, welcome. Today we're reviewing a game that I played for a tournament for a shot at possibly being included in the World Championship of Blood Bowl in Blood Bowl 3. This is the round of 16, and my opponent is playing Chaos Dwarves with some mean-looking guys, and I am playing my humans. The skills on my humans are 2 guard on blitzers, a guard on my ogre, a wrestle tackle lineman, a block catcher, a dirty player catcher, and a leader thrower. Let's see how we do. You're in for an exciting one. I got pretty nervous in multiple parts of this game. But keep your head, and hopefully you can prevail. So with Chaos Dwarves, I didn't want to put any of my important players on the line at all. And unfortunately, this meant that I did have to put my wrestle tackle lineman on the line. I probably should have put him in the middle there instead of on the edge. However, I didn't want anyone who was super valuable on the line. So I went with a boat formation and got my ogre off the line because he's got a lot of guard. And I didn't want my ogre to be fouled or taken out like that. So this is one of the first times I get nervous in this game. I see a couple armor breaks off two blocks. Not great, but that's kind of what Chaos Dwarves do, is they wreak havoc on your player numbers. So instantly I am playing down one player, so I've only got 10 on the field. And this sneaky git is going to be a problem for me, so I try to take a mental note and hopefully I can get him out later. Now that was unfortunate for them. 75% chance that they would pick that up because he has sure hands on that bull with block. On the other bull, he has strip ball. He's got 4 blockers with guard, a sneaky git, a hobgoblin, and a juggernaut minotaur. So here I'm thinking, okay, I don't want to get too greedy, too crazy, so I'm going to keep as much distance as I can away from them because I don't want them to get their grubby hands on me and start removing more players. So I went for the single blitz and then tried to protect my blitzer as much as I could behind. Gotta be honest, forgot about breathe fire. So my ogre is 3 squares away, so luckily I was not concerned about getting surfed. So now that he's down, I see that my ogre is still pretty safe from being surfed. So I know that next turn, as long as he doesn't bonehead, I can stand him up. And there's a pretty solid line here. This is another part where I get nervous. I'm now down 2 players, and my wrestle tackle is out for the game because I did not go with an apothecary. I went with a deep bench, so 13 players rather than 12 players and an apothecary, mainly because my idea was that if I lose a couple players, I'll still have 11 regardless, and the apothecary might or might not work depending on what type of injury it is. Now, would have been nice in that situation to have an apothecary, but currently I am still able to field 11 players on the next turn. So here I'm prioritizing getting rid of as many of these guard guys, or at least trying to get them off of me as I can, and just making it more difficult for them to come through on the left side while also not positioning everybody on the left side so I can move to the right if I need to, if they decide to go on that side. It's a pretty spicy dodge to get that blocker over there. It's a 4+ to get out early in the turn too, so that is potential for a turnover and for me to start making some headway. And we see here the bull does end up getting it. So primarily my focus is there's slow moving players on the left side of the screen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them to be exact. So that means there's 6 on the right. But I guess 5 on the right because he's had his sneaky get player thrown out. So I'm prioritizing trying to shift some of my resources to the right so we don't, so we have a better opportunity to possibly sack the ball, because the ball is pretty exposed at this moment. Well, not completely, but it is more exposed than you would really want it to be. So we get a player in the back here. This is kind of what I'm trying to do, is cut off anybody from the left side, just instantly bringing assists and whatnot. So here we see we knocked down the 3 guys on this left side with the ogre and the minotaur, and so we've only got 3 players on the left, and they've got 4 and 1 knockdown bull. So the goal here was really trying to just keep those players over there for that turn so that I can figure out a way to get somebody in here. I've got enough guard at this point because we've split up his guard units. So I can adequately punch back here now. So I wanted to get 2 assists in, and I wanted to throw this block so that this lineman would hold off this hobgoblin if I had missed this dodge. And then there we go. So that was the whole goal, was to try and get that blitz on that bull and get him down. Ball bobbled around a little bit and ended up landing on a catcher, which I'm not too upset about, actually. That catcher should have gone 1 square further north, just to make it that much more difficult for the hobgoblin to, because at the current moment the hobgoblin could 1 dice my catcher, or 2 dice my catcher with just a rush. So if I had gone 1 square further north, it would have been much more difficult for him to get out and around. So something I probably should have taken into consideration a little bit earlier, but you know, in the heat of the moment, sometimes you don't make the best decisions. So here I wanted to make sure this dwarf actually went down so that I could get, so I had to sink 2 rerolls into this, but it was pretty important because I needed to get him gone so I could blitz his hobgoblin off, get him down, and then my thrower, I had counted all the squares to make sure I knew for sure that he was going to be safe, and then I ran my thrower as far away, or catcher, as far away as I could. At this moment I had counted from the bull centaur down, from the hobgoblin, and from the fire breather, as well as the dwarf blocker, and anyone else that I thought might possibly be able to reach that catcher. And he is 1 square away from anybody being able to make contact. So that's why you either want to have a good cage or have your player far out away from anyone being able to even reach them. And so I know at this point that I'm probably going to be scoring on my turn 6, but I am losing players. I've lost 3 players so far, and that's a concern, a legitimate concern. Especially if I don't get that KO back. You know, I'll be playing on 10 players, he'll be playing on 11. because he does have one hobgoblin on the bench. So at this point, I'm like, okay, just get the score. Now I'm 1-up during his offensive, and even though he can punch back, might be able to score on 2 turns, I have enough players at this moment to prevent that. And I know I'll be getting the ball back in the second half, so if I can prevent the score at this moment, then I have a solid chance of being able to score in the second half and be 2-up. So knowing that, I'm going for a defensive setup that is more geared towards a 2-turn defensive setup instead of the boat. So you see I've got my blitzers on the right side and left side, wings, and a chevron, my ogre kind of in the middle area in the chevron, and then my 2 catchers in the back to provide assists on either side because they can move the fastest. Again, I put 3 linemen on the line because they are my lowest value ones. So we just see lots of blocking here. It's normal. It's what I expected. Only 1 armor break, which I was happy about. And we can see here so I am concerned about that blitzer now getting surfed in the next turn, which is legitimate because he could be injured for the entire game. Even a badly hurt is bad for me because I have no apothecary. So he runs his sure hands, Bull Centaur up. So a priority for me is going to be to try and get that blitzer off of that, off the sidelines. So I know that I'm going to do all my safe moves first, or at least my relatively safe moves first. And then I'm going to... Now that probably was out of sequence. So I'm trying to get rid of a lot of his faster players and get them down. So I got a little bit of a containment over here. Dodge out. And then the biggest one that was a concern was that I didn't care if he had a 4+ on that left side, as long as he couldn't be surfed. That was my intention, because I really didn't want him to go off into the crowd and possibly be out for the whole game. So while a dodge out there is not ideal, at least attempts to get him out of a bad position. And right here we've got some men that are in the way. Now, the reason I was okay with all of his sequences, he needed 2 turns to score, and that Bull Centaur was way too far away to be able to score. I think he was 1 square short. So I wasn't concerned about that. Now this, what I do here is I'm trying to get to the next... I have a bribe. So my intention here was to try and foul one of those hobgoblins who have lower armor. Clearly didn't make the dodge and knocked my guy out, but my intention here was to try and foul one of his hobgoblins out for the game so that he was on 10 players, same as me. Even if I got caught, I would have been able to use a bribe and he would have had a good chance to stay in, but he didn't make the dodge, so that sucked. So now we're in the second half. I'm up 1-0 and I'm getting the ball back. So this setup allows me to get 2 dice on 2 of the Chaos blockers, or Dwarf blockers, even with the guard, and then 3 dice on the 3rd one with my ogre. Thank you, Andy Davo, for that setup. So I know that I don't want to necessarily score fast, but I also don't want to get lulled into a protracted game where there is a lot of contact. Because the problem is the Chaos Dwarves are amazing at contact. They almost never leave the field because they have iron-hard skin, so Mighty Blow doesn't affect them. Neither does any assists while fouling. So the reality is here, what I'm trying to do is set up on one side of the field to get myself at least a decent screen, double layer screen here. Because they're not fast enough to curl around that left side. And then on this right side, I have enough men available to fight back and run away if I need to, because that's what you humans have to do in this situation. Try and run away, limit the amount of contact, and essentially be crappier elves in this instance. So at this point, we are down 4 players. I have a bench of 13 completely, so I am down to 9 players on the field at the current moment. And if that KO doesn't come back, then I'm going to be on 9 players trying to defend against this Chaos Dwarf team. So I see there's quite a bit of overcommitment, I would say, on the right side of the field to try and stop me going up that side. So I shift. I shift to the left side, or at least the idea that I'm going to be going to the left side in the hopes that these Chaos Dwarves aren't going to be able to follow me because they're too slow. So now we've got a pretty decent wall of bodies that are protecting the ball. Not perfect, but because I'm not facing an agility team, it really isn't as insecure as if you were playing an elf team. With an elf team, you definitely have to make sure you have ball security, but if you're playing an elf team, then you're not worried about the contact as badly as you are right now. So I know that I've got at least one turn before he's able to shift everybody over to the left here to actually come up with me. So my idea is, depending on where he puts these bowls, if I have a little bit of space, I might be able to squeak up into that top left area in front of one of those bowls. So that's what I try and do here. I blitzed with a blockless lineman. There's a risk of doing a 1-9 here, but I assessed doing a dodge, then doing the hit, and I knew I had the reroll. I could try and use it. So I've got so now that I've got more of a cage, more security here, I'm more okay with doing these dodges. I knew this one I was just going to let him. And I lose him to a KO, but I was going to let him fall over if he fell over anyway. Now we're at 5 removals. So we're down to 8 players to his 11. So he's got the extra players. Luckily, these 3 on the right kind of bring that more into balance. But as he moves more players to the left side, I know that I'm not going to be able to adequately defend this position. And it's just going to get more dire, more problematic the longer I sit here. So this next sequence after this turn, his turn, is a little controversial. I do a 1-die blitz, have to use a reroll here. and I got the push. I had to get the follow, and then I had one more reroll left, so I've used all of my rerolls by the 4th turn in the second half. The problem with that is now I'm running on Nuffle's time. So, but the reward, the risk that I was thinking, and the reward that I was thinking was, I'm up 2-0, and I have to defend now. You know, with 9 players, I could probably defend, and the idea going into this last, well, what I thought was the last drive, this drive, is I don't need to prevent them completely from scoring because I'm 2 up. I need to prevent them from scoring too quickly. Because these bull centaurs can move 9 if they want to, and they have sure feet, they can 2-turn very, very easily. So now I'm back down to 8 players again. So because they can 2-turn very, very easily, my philosophy is don't give up the sides so they can come down the sides easily. Keep men open and really screen and make it difficult for them to come into this place. I'm hoping they score by like turn 14 or 15 so that I can get the ball back, and all I have to do is defend for 1 or 2 turns, and then that's fine with me. I feel pretty decent that I can hold that off, that I can at least defend, but I'm losing a lot of men very, very quickly to KOs, so I've lost 6. So if you're keeping score, I only have 7 players on the field. Add this, 7 players on the field right now to try and defend against 11. So what I'm doing here is trying to tie up as many players with 1 or 2 players as with 1 or 2 players. In hindsight, I probably should have brought this one back down south, that player down south, and put him right next to the thrower down here. Because that's what happened. So it should have been a blitz. Run that blitzer I ran behind him into the backfield, down by where the thrower is, and then roll a 2-die blitz up here, and got that Chaos Dwarf off. That may have prolonged this a little bit longer. I think I was a little too excited about the fact that there was a little too excited about the fact that the ball was still on the ground, and the bull centaur was the one who is probably going to be picking this up. And that's a 4+ pickup. Now he does have sure hands, so that's about a 75% chance that he's going to pick it up. But now he's got a full, easy alley to move up into my backfield. So really, looking at this again, I would have played this differently. So he does miss the first one, but he gets the second one. And there's that alley that he has to pick it up. It didn't go. And he closes it off pretty well here. I just don't have the manpower at this point to really threaten the ball completely. I could try and dodge out and do a 2 dice uphill. But that's a lot of dice. That's a 4, and I've got no rerolls, right? So I have to play a little conservatively here too, right? Except when that happens. So here, it's turn 14. Since I was the one who began this drive, I'm thinking about this, okay, I'm going to be getting this back on my turn 15, and I only have to survive for 2 more turns against them. I feel pretty confident that I could do two more turns. Doing 3 turns would be a little concerning, honestly. I'd really have to think through that and figure out how think through that and figure out how to mitigate what they can do, because they could send both those bull centaurs back and a handful of other players, especially if I don't get my KOs back. I mean, I'd be almost dead in the water. So he gets his 2 rushes that he needs and scores. He's still down by 1. So I'm just thinking, okay, hang on for dear life. Try and keep it going until we run out of turns, 2 turns. So I got 2 of my 3 KOs back. So in reality, I'm down to 9 players still. And he has 11 on the field. So here I'm thinking, okay, how do we defend this? So I put my 2 players with dodge on the line and try to spread out my throws in the backfield so I can pick up the ball. I put the ogre on one side, 3 squares in, and I put a lineman and 2 catchers on the line so that if I needed to, I could dodge them off. So the ogre is essentially on his own, and this is what I was concerned about. So we have a timeout now, which means that now makes it so I have to survive for 3 turns against them with 9 players. This is not the situation I wanted to find myself in, but that's why I put the catchers on the line. I didn't have any rerolls, so I wanted to kind of, if I was going to get anybody off the line, I needed to have them be my dodge catchers. So I put them on there in case I needed the rerolls to do that. Well, I needed rerolls for both of them. If I had put a lineman on there, I would have, I would have turned over very early in the game. Now at least I have a chance having 4 players on the right, keeping me from this turn at least. So, armor holds, thankfully. And now I know, okay, well, there's a lane right there for Bull Centaur to come down to. But I have a free player in the backfield that I can bring up for an assist if I need to. I can block with my ogre up there on the left blocker to get him out of the way. And then I can block with my lineman to get that other blocker out of the way to get my second assist on this Bull Centaur. So I was happy about that removal. Wasn't expected. So got that off. Now I can bring the second assist in for the Bull Centaur. Now I can just punch this thing in the face and hope for the best. Got him down. And broke his armor, and really I would have been just happy with just getting him down. But now I realize that right side is open. If those, if that lineman had gotten blocked by one of those 3, a hobgoblin could have come down easily and one dice my ball carrier. So I had to put a blitzer on that side. So survived 1 turn. Here's the second turn we had to survive, and they're bringing men down. I'm feeling kind of scrunched here because I just don't have the manpower to really adequately do well enough currently, but I am doing my best. So here, I know I need to get that blitzer off the wall again just to try and conserve what I have, so I plan to do that as my final dodge. But I've got 2 assists here. I do the exact same thing I did earlier. Punch a Bull Centaur in the face, get him down, stay there. And now that I have someone on him, I can move that to protect my thrower. And this is my final turn. So I dodged that off because that was the safer of the dodges. And actually, I made the 4+. It was 3+ I didn't make with that blitzer. But I got him off the wall. So now it's going to be much more difficult for this coach to attempt to sack the ball carrier. You'll have to get a pretty decent dodge in, a 6+. And everything's marked out, so it would have been a 2 dice, but the 6+ didn't work out for them. So I was able to survive, thankfully, through sheer will. If you like this content, please like and subscribe, and more to come.